Hello guys, Bud here with Dependable Lawn Care, and look what finally came in. It's the grass collection kit, or the bagger, for the FW15. It's in the back of my truck. I'm going to go ahead and they open the box like they usually do, make sure all the parts are in there. So we're going to flip it open real quick and see what all is in the box, in the kit. Okay, so there's the tube. Here's the discharge part that attaches. So that's pretty beefy looking. Definitely like the look of that. Looks pretty stout. Got a nice heavy bracket on it. Of course, we'll have to hook it all up to the mower, see how it all works. So this is side discharge, of course, is where it attaches, and that's the only downside. I know that some guys were hoping that it was going to be you know, a rear discharge or something like that, so that you don't have the extra space taken up on the side. It's not an issue for me. It's still going to fit through the gates that I need to get through. And if it doesn't look like it would be a big deal to take it off real quick. So we'll find out though when we put it all together. So what else is in here? Okay. So that looks like the top, or the front maybe, of the bagger kit. And I think the bag is attached to that. And it's wrapping out of the way. Let's see. Okay, I got a box here with looks like all the hardware and the manual is in there, so I'm gonna take that out for now. Looks like the actual bag. So probably have to get it on the mower to be able to really show you what it looks like. But I'll tell you what, guys, this is it's pretty beefy. Set that right there for now. It's quite a bit to this. So, okay, that's it. That's everything in the box. So, get the box out of the way. Let's stump this out and see what's in here. Now, from the picture that I have seen of it, I think that's going to be a counterweight for the front. So, I believe this is going to be the counterweight for the front of the machine. There is one high lift blade. You see the lift on that sucker. Very high lift. And then there's a hardware packet that has clamps, nuts and bolts, etc., some U-bolts. And then the operator's manual for the collection system. So I'm going to peel into that, set the camera up, and we'll start putting it on. I know that the mulch kit's probably going to have to come off, which sucks because I've been enjoying that. And so far that's the downside to the system, is you've got to take one off to put the other one on. You can't use them together. So at least I don't think I can. We'll find out here shortly. The tools that we needed for the project. It's pretty basic. The impacts are optional. So we'll just start here. We used a cordless drill with an 1/8 inch pilot bit and then a 21/64 finish bit, and that was to install the post. I used my 1/2 inch impact, again optional, with a 5/8 socket to change the blades. Used my small impact to do a lot of the nuts and bolts, taking off the mulch kit, and then putting or installing the grass collection system. Right now I have a 5/16 socket on there, and I also used a 1/2 inch, 9/16 and 7/16. Again, impact is optional. Do not use an impact for this unless you know what you're doing. You can tear stuff up with those impacts. They're a great tool, but they can definitely overdo it. So, operator's manual that had good instructions, easy to follow. I used the file to file off that one little paint bubble that was a tight spot. Other than that, that wasn't needed. And then just assorted wrenches. I have a pair of 7/16, a pair of 1/2 inch, a pair of 9/16 wrenches, and then also 7/16, 1/2 inch, and 9/16 sockets. Sharpie that I used to mark my hole, or mark where I wanted to make the hole for the post. So basic tools. If you take the impacts out of the equation, the only thing you really needed was a crescent, or I'm sorry, was a socket wrench and the cordless drill. Okay, that was really the only power tool needed. But I have the impacts and I enjoy using them, and I know how to use them, so makes the job go a little faster and easier. So that's it, guys. That's the tools used for the install. We have to remove the mulch kit, so I went ahead and took off the access cover, which, as you guys watched putting the mulch kit on, it's just the 4 7/16 1/4 inch by 3/4 inch bolts, and those are the holes. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. So I pulled that access cover off because I have to get to this one bolt to take the mulch kit off, and of course I'll have to take off the side piece here. I'm going to need to remove the mulching blades because I have to put one of the factory blades back on, and then the high lift blade that comes with the bagger kit. So we're going to go ahead and hoist this bad boy up and get that knocked out real quick. Alright, I've got it up on the chain hoist. So the thing I like about the chain hoist is I don't have anything in my way getting to the machine. I've got full access. So I'm going to jump in there and get this mulch kit off and get the blades changed out. When you're taking this off, guys, make sure you hang on to all the hardware, because eventually you'll be putting it back on and you'll need it. Got all the bolts and nuts and everything in their place with the unit, so whenever I get ready to put the mulch kit back on, you know, to run through the spring and the summer months, I'll have everything already together. So this is my 1/2 inch impact with a 5/8 socket, and I just have it on the lowest setting. Those are the mulch blades, the wavy blades. That's the last of the mulch kit that I had to remove. So now I can start putting the blades on that are going to go with the bagger kit. These are the different blades. This blade on the right is the factory blade, and this blade on the left is the blade that comes with the collection unit, collection kit, bagger, whatever you want to call it. See the difference in the lift? It's got a much higher lift, and that goes on the discharge side, and basically what that's going to do is help accelerate the lift of the clippings and the mulch going up into the bagger kit. So let's get these on. And Okay, you really can't put these blades on wrong because they have knobs that hold them in place. There's really only one way they can go, and that's because it's a timed system. So this is the higher lift blade that comes with the bagger kit, and it's going to go on the discharge side. So you've got one blade running this way, and the other blade runs the opposite of it, and that way the ends of the blades never touch. Okay, that's the way the system's designed, so that the blades can't hit each other because they slightly overlap in their path. So as you can see, the mulch kit is off. Also, that the baffle that goes like right here, that little triangle baffle, we had to take that off for the mulch kit. Well, you remove it for the bagger system as well, or the collector system. So we don't have to put that back on or anything. So now we're ready to start putting everything back together, and we'll be putting on our collection system as we're putting everything back together. The access cover back on, as well as the front weight. And the only reason that I had to remove this access plate was because of the mulch kit. If your mower doesn't already have the mulch kit on it, you won't have to take this plate off. Okay, the one thing you will have to remove, however, are these two front bolts. They're a 3/4 inch, quarter 20 bolt. You're going to remove those, and you'll be replacing those with a 1 inch, quarter 20 bolt that comes with the front weight. So I'll go ahead and put that on now. They give you longer bolts to make up for the thickness of the bracket for the front weight. So here's the front weight, and it has, again, it has a 1 inch bolt with washers. Now guys, I use the impact a lot to speed things up, but I do recommend hand tightening everything and then using a wrench to put the final tighten on it. If you don't know what you're doing with an impact, you can definitely over tighten and or strip out bolts. You can twist a bolt off. Now I'm using my smallest impact and experience with it to know, how to get bolts as tight as I want without over tightening. But you do have to be careful if you decide to use an impact for something like this. When I bought my mower, one of the first things I did was remove the plastic discharge chute, because that really serves no purpose for me and it was in my way. So I removed that already, so that's out of the way. The other thing I did was I took this post right here. I took that off because I didn't want it to get tore up, and without having the discharge piece on there, it's not needed except for the bagger system. And you'll see how that works, but so for right now I need to go ahead and put that back on for the bagger system. And again, this might be something that your mower already has on it that you don't even need to mess with. As I said, I removed the plastic chute that comes on the mower. Okay, you don't have to remove that for this kit. It will actually fold up out of the way according to the instructions. What we're going to do now is set this boot in place, and then after we've done that, there's a hole that we have to mark. So let me show you that. Okay, so with the boot in place, there's a notch right here. So you see this cutout, okay? There's a bolt. It's similar to that front post, the one that we just reinstalled. There's a post that comes with this that's going to fit into that spot, and so when you set this into place, you have the front post and the rear post holding it in place. So what we're going to do is mark the center, top center of this hole with it in place, and that's where we're going to need a drill. I'm going to put this back in place. I want to hold this boot in place, so I'm pushing it forward and down to make sure that it's where it needs to be. Okay, now it says to mark the center of the radius, which means the top of the hole where it makes an arch. You basically want to mark the center and then the center across. So as you can see, I have my mark right there. Is the bolt that's going to go in that. It'll go in this hole right here. So when this is on, snug fit too, but anyways, when it's on, that's going to go right in that radius. It looks like I'm probably going to have to sand off a little bit of paint. That's what's going to hold it on. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to have to file that just a bit, but that's all right. Anyway, let's drill this hole, and that's the size that you're drilling it. You're drilling it for this bolt to fit through. First, I have a pilot bit to drill the initial hole. And then here's my 21/64. So we want to make sure we get all those metal shavings off of there. One, because they're unprotected metal and they'll rust, and two, because you don't want those getting in your pulleys and your belts. Any kind of moving parts. So with that all cleaned up, we'll put our post on, and it has a lock nut that goes on the back. So here's what you have: your post bolt, and then a nylon lock nut with a large washer type head. Okay, let's tighten that up. Okay, so the back side's a 9/16 and the front is a 1/2. Okay. There we go. Now that's installed, we should be able to set the boot in place. Okay, now it's not fitting down on that post like it's supposed to. So what I'm going to do is take the file. Actually, there's a burr right there. I think that's probably the problem. So I'm just going to file that a little bit right there. Take that bump off, and then it should fit on the way it's supposed to. Okay, let's try that. Okay, there we go, it's on. So that's all it was. It just had a little, I think it was just a bubble in the paint actually, but just a little hiccup there keeping it from going in. So now it's in place. I'm going to be mounting the collector mount plate, which is this unit with the 4 U-bolts. First thing I'm going to do is take this elbow off, which is very simple. There are 3 1/2-inch bolts. You loosen those, and then this rotates. Okay, so you can change the position. So you just rotate it to the holes, and you pull it right off. I want that off out of my way while I'm trying to mount this up. The bolts take a 7/16 wrench. I have to put the nuts on. The hardest part of that was getting the U-bolts over the lower part of the handlebars, because where the handlebar starts to flare out, it gets a little wider, and I don't really like how that went on. It took a lot of paint off. Show you what I'm talking about. You can see where it scratched all the paint off right there, just getting the bolt over the bar. But they're all in place. This needs to be just above the bracket for the throttle cable, which it is, and then that's pretty much the only one that sets the tone for the position. Okay, this one obviously has to be below the throttle control, and this right here needs to be above it. So that's how you know that it's in the right position. So now I just need to put my nuts on, tighten them up. Check my deck height adjustment and make sure that nothing's interfering with that, and check my blade engagement. You know, just basically check all the controls, make sure that everything still works as it should before I move on from there. So we have the collector mount plate, which is the plate that mounts to the handlebars. We've got the elbow back on, and we've got the boot on. So now all we've got to do is connect the two with the tube. So we're going to take our hose clamps that are provided, and we're going to go ahead and put one on each end of that hose and get that ready to slide on. Okay, so I'm going to put the clamp. I'm going to go ahead and put the clamp on both ends. Yeah, it's not tight. I just took it down enough to keep it in place. You out here to help, Thor? No, I didn't think so. Okay, so the clamps are on. Okay. Slide that on the boot. And on the elbow. Alright guys, so that was pretty easy. No cutting or anything like that. I just slid it on the boot and then put the boot back in place as I was sliding it on the elbow. Well, slid it on the elbow on the other end and then put it in place. So that was pretty simple. I'm going to tighten up my clamps and okay, and you notice I rotated those clamps a little bit so I could kind of have the clamp ties, or the ends of the hose clamp out of the way. There's about 4 inches sticking out, and those little boogers, they can get caught on stuff, get bent up. They can actually scratch you or cut you. So I wanted to make sure I got those out of the way as much as possible. Okay, guys. So here's the discharge bag. It just simply slides into place. It's got a handle right here to pull it off. And that's it, guys. That's it for the install. The final step is the front weight, and we've already done that. Let's do a quick walk around. I've got it setting in the yard. So we'll we'll just kind of take a quick look at everything. So this little piece right here, I was wondering what that was when I was putting it together. It's an air vent, so it just allows the air to escape. Just a quick basic walk around of the unit. I like how it looks.